First estrogen pill begins my transformation. Selma stood by her apartment window, watching the world outside blur into the distance. After a quiet sigh, she stepped away and sank into her favorite armchair, letting her thoughts wander through the long, complicated road that had brought her here. It hadn't been simple, but for the first time in years, she felt something steady, relief mixed with a fragile kind of hope. As a child, she had always felt misaligned, like she was living in a role that never truly belonged to her. She remembered sneaking into her mother's wardrobe, slipping into dresses and heels in secret moments, finding a sense of comfort she couldn't explain. While others expected her to follow a different path, her heart was drawn elsewhere, toward softer, quieter joys she was told weren't meant for her. Over time, she learned to bury those feelings. Hiding became second nature, a shield against judgment she feared from family and the world around her. But as she grew older, the divide between who she was inside and how she appeared on the outside only widened. Each passing year made it harder to ignore, and the weight of that disconnect began to take its toll. Loneliness, anxiety, and sadness crept in, becoming part of her daily life. She felt trapped between expectations and identity, unsure how to reconcile the two. Everything changed during her college years when she came across a word that finally gave shape to her experience: transgender. It was a turning point, both unsettling and freeing. For the first time, she understood she wasn't alone, that others had walked similar paths. Still, understanding didn't erase the fear. The idea of embracing her truth felt overwhelming, especially in a world that didn't always welcome it. She spent years caught between fear and longing, until the cost of hiding became greater than the risk of being seen. At 25, Selma decided to take her first real step forward. Nervous but determined, she reached out to a therapist who specialized in gender identity. Sitting in that waiting room, her heart raced with uncertainty. But when she finally spoke, the years of silence broke all at once. She shared everything: the confusion, the shame, the longing to finally feel whole. The support she received marked the beginning of something new. Session by session, she began to untangle her fears and rebuild herself with honesty and care. Slowly, she started to express who she truly was, first in small, quiet ways, then more openly. Telling her friends was the next step. Some embraced her without hesitation, offering warmth and reassurance that gave her strength. Others didn't understand, and that reality hurt more than she expected. The hardest moment came when she shared her truth with her parents. Their reaction was heavy with disbelief and pain, leaving wounds that would take time to heal. Yet even through that heartbreak, Selma couldn't turn back. For the first time, living authentically felt right, more right than anything she had ever known. And though the journey ahead was still uncertain, she finally felt like she was moving toward a life that truly belonged to her. With Dr. Chen's encouragement, Salma eventually scheduled a visit with an endocrinologist to explore hormone therapy. During her consultation, Dr. Patel carefully walked her through what to expect, how estrogen and blockers might reshape her body over time, along with the possible side effects and risks. He advised her to take a few days to consider everything before making a decision. But Salma didn't hesitate. She had spent years questioning, waiting, and hoping. "I'm ready," she said without uncertainty. "I don't want to wait anymore." The moment she began treatment felt almost surreal. Holding that first small pill in her hand, she paused, not out of doubt, but out of awe. It symbolized everything she had been longing for. When she finally took it, she felt like she had crossed an invisible line into a new chapter of her life. At first, the changes were subtle. Weeks passed before she noticed anything different. Then slowly, her skin softened, her features began to shift, and her body started redistributing weight in ways that felt more natural to her. Emotionally, she felt more open too, feelings rising to the surface more easily than before. She kept track of every milestone, no matter how small. The first visible physical changes, the gradual slowing of facial hair, the quiet morning when she looked in the mirror and, for once, recognized herself, it all mattered. Of course, it wasn't effortless. Adjusting to new hormones brought its own struggles, unexpected mood swings, physical discomfort, and moments of doubt. Navigating daily life also changed. She became more aware of how others saw her, sometimes facing uncertainty or unease in social situations. Still, there were victories that outweighed the hardships. Being addressed correctly by strangers without hesitation. Successfully updating her legal identity. Learning to speak in a way that matched how she felt inside. Each step, however small, felt like reclaiming a piece of herself. Through it all, she wasn't alone. Maria stood by her side, offering constant reassurance and support, even accompanying her to important appointments. Dr. Chin continued to help her process the emotional complexity of her journey, while Dr. Patel ensured her treatment stayed safe and effective. As time passed, Salma grew more confident in sharing her identity with the world. She opened up at work and was relieved to find acceptance from many of her colleagues. She also connected with others who had walked similar paths, finding comfort in shared experiences. 2 years into her transition, she finally felt a sense of inner calm she had never known before. Yet she understood that her journey was still unfolding. She had begun exploring surgical options, carefully weighing the possibilities. The idea brought both excitement and fear, hope for deeper alignment, but also awareness of the challenges ahead. Alongside these decisions, she found herself reflecting on the deeper roots of her identity. Curious about the science behind it, she spent time reading studies and theories about biological and environmental influences before birth. While none offered clear answers, they gave her a broader perspective on her experience. One evening, driven by that curiosity, she reached out to her mother. The conversation was delicate. She asked about her mother's pregnancy, whether anything unusual had happened, any exposures or medications. Her mother struggled to respond, her voice heavy with emotion, unsure of what to say or whether any of it mattered. Salma reassured her gently. She wasn't searching for fault, only understanding. That moment, though painful, became a quiet step toward healing between them. It opened the door to more honest conversations, even if full acceptance hadn't yet come. Her parents were still adjusting, still learning, but there were small signs of effort, using her name, trying to understand. Salma could see their struggle, just as she carried her own. But despite the distance that still lingered, she held on to the belief that, with time, understanding might grow, and that her truth, once hidden, could finally exist in the open. Salma understood something with complete clarity: there was no turning back. Trying to live as anyone other than her true self had already cost her too much. The years filled with anxiety, sadness, and self-hatred had proven that pretending wasn't a life she could survive. During one heartfelt conversation, she tried to explain this to her parents. "This isn't something I decided overnight," she told them, her voice unsteady but determined. "This is who I've always been. I'm still me, the same person you've always known. I'm just no longer hiding." As evening settled outside her window, painting the sky in deep shades of blue, Salma rose and walked to her desk. She opened her journal, a companion that had carried her thoughts through every stage of her journey. She began to write. "Today marks 2 years since I started hormone therapy. 2 years of change, struggle, and growth I never thought possible. When I look in the mirror now, I finally see myself, truly, completely. There's still more ahead. Decisions to make, challenges to face, and a world that doesn't always understand. But for the first time, I feel hopeful. I'm not pretending anymore. I'm not hiding. I'm just me, Salma." She paused, thinking, then continued writing. "I've lost some people along the way, and some relationships have changed in ways that still hurt. But I've also gained so much: support, strength, and a deeper understanding of who I am. The people who stayed have shown me what real love looks like. There are still difficult days. Moments when I feel disconnected again. But they don't last like they used to. More often, I feel comfortable in my own skin, something I once thought was impossible. As I think about what comes next, I feel both excited and nervous. Surgery is a big step, and it's not without risks. But the idea of feeling fully aligned with myself gives me hope. It won't fix everything, but it's part of becoming whole. I also want to use my story to help others. If sharing my journey can make even one person feel less alone, then it's worth it. She set the pen down and closed the journal, a quiet sense of peace settling over her. Later, as she got ready for bed, she caught her reflection in the mirror. For a moment, she just stood there, taking it all in, the softness of her features, the way her body had changed, the person she had become. A small smile formed. "You've made it this far," she whispered softly. "And you're not done yet." That night, she fell asleep with a calm she had never known before. Morning arrived bright and full of promise. Salma woke feeling lighter, ready to face the day. She had an important appointment later, with a surgeon, to discuss the next step in her journey. As she went through her routine, she reflected on how far she had come. Every step had required courage, from opening up in therapy to beginning hormone treatment to embracing her identity publicly. None of it had been easy, but all of it had been worth it. She chose a flowing teal dress, paired it with simple accessories, and looked at herself in the mirror. This time, there was no doubt, this was who she was meant to be. As she stepped outside, her phone buzzed. A message from Maria lit up the screen, wishing her luck and suggesting they meet afterward. Salma smiled, quickly replying with gratitude. The walk to the clinic gave her time to steady herself. She had done her research, prepared her questions, but still felt that mix of nerves and anticipation. When she arrived, the surgeon greeted her warmly, creating an immediate sense of comfort. As they sat down, Salma began to share her story, everything that had led her to this moment. The conversation that followed was detailed and thoughtful, exploring different possibilities and what they might mean for her future. As she listened, asked questions, and considered her options, one thing remained clear in her mind. She was no longer searching for herself. She had already found her. Dr. Rodriguez carefully walked Salma through each surgical option, explaining the advantages, risks, and expected outcomes. Using detailed illustrations and real case examples, she made sure everything was clear and easy to understand. She answered every question with patience, never rushing, giving Salma the space to truly absorb the information. By the time the consultation ended, Salma felt a swirl of emotions, both overwhelmed and hopeful. There was so much to think about, yet she couldn't ignore the excitement building inside her. For the first time, the idea of fully aligning her body with her identity felt within reach. "Take your time with this," Dr. Rodriguez said gently as they wrapped up. "Go through the materials, reflect on what feels right for you, and when you're ready, we'll move forward together." Leaving the clinic with a folder of information in her hands, Salma stepped out into the evening air, her mind racing with possibilities. As she made her way to meet Maria, she found herself imagining what life might feel like after surgery, comfortable, complete, and finally at peace. Maria was already seated when Salma arrived, greeting her with a warm, reassuring hug. "So? How was it?" she asked, her eyes full of curiosity. Salma paused, taking a sip of water before answering. "It was a lot," she admitted. She explained everything so well, but there are so many options, so many things to consider. It's exciting, but also kind of overwhelming. Maria smiled softly and reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "That makes sense. This is huge. You don't have to figure everything out today. Just take it one step at a time, I've got you." Salma felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. "I really don't know what I'd do without you." As they ate, she shared the details of the consultation, and Maria listened closely, offering thoughtful responses and encouragement. By the end of the meal, Salma felt lighter, more grounded. "No matter what you decide," Maria said warmly, "I know it'll be right for you. You've already come so far, and I'm honestly so proud of you." Those words touched Salma deeply. She blinked back tears, smiling. "Thank you. That means everything." Walking home later, she felt a renewed sense of clarity. The path ahead might still be uncertain, but she no longer felt alone or afraid. She was moving forward, step by step, toward the life she had always envisioned. That night, she returned to her journal, flipping to a blank page. "Today feels like a turning point," she wrote. "Sitting there, discussing surgery, I couldn't help but think about how far I've come. There was a time when even imagining this life felt impossible. Now I'm standing at the edge of something I once only dreamed of. I know it won't be easy. There are risks, challenges, and a long recovery ahead. But for the first time, I can truly picture a future where my body feels like home. I'm so grateful for the people who've guided me, those who helped me find my courage, those who've supported me every step of the way. And for the friends who never let me forget my worth. Things with my parents are still complicated, but I can see small changes. Effort. Progress. Maybe one day, they'll fully understand. When I look back, I barely recognize the person I used to be, not just physically, but emotionally. I've grown stronger, more confident. I've learned to stand up for myself. There are still difficult moments, but they don't define me anymore. Most days, I feel something I never thought I would do: peace. As I think about what comes next, I'm trying to stay balanced, hopeful, but realistic. This step won't fix everything, but it matters. It's part of becoming whole. No matter what happens, I know I'm strong enough to face it. I am Salma, resilient, proud, and finally living my truth. And despite everything, this journey has been worth it. I'm ready for whatever comes next. She closed the journal slowly, letting the words settle in her heart.